Hi everyone and welcome back to Just with Dara. I'm super excited for today's episode because I have my first guest of season 2 here, season 2, episode 1. And this is actually my first reoccurring guest. It's Isabel from the episode about Black Lives Matter in a year after George Floyd's death. So yeah, go ahead Isabel, introduce yourself again.
Hey guys, so I'm Isabel and I'm 14 years old and I am Chinese American. And today we are doing an episode about Stop Asian Hate.
Yes, thank you. I kind of forgot to say that. But yeah, as you can tell by the title, we're talking about Asian hate at this time. And so I have a few prompts to kind of ask her, and she's also going to like help me to I think hopefully with this I'm a bit more educated about it because I think myself I don't think I fully completely grasp like the context completely, and hopefully for my listeners as well she's also able to hopefully educate you guys as well. So I'll go ahead with the first prompt, and it's, what did you feel when you first heard about the Asian hate crimes that were going on?
Okay, well, so I've been kind of aware about some Asian hate crimes like happening like before it really took kind of full blast in like the early year. But I think the one that really like struck a chord with me the most was the I think it was the parlor shooting in Atlanta. It was a while ago, but I remember that one really hit close because I'd been hearing a lot of news about Asian elders getting attacked, but this one really hurt me because it's the parlors were both like very close to where I live, like 30, 40 minutes. And it was just really shocking to me. I think I remember after I heard about it, I went home and I took a shower and I was just crying so hard in the shower because it had just hit me because I was just reading articles about it and I saw like one of the victims, she had left behind a really like a lot of children, like a young daughter who was only like 6 months old, I think. And I think that just really hurt me because I really couldn't imagine what I would do without my mom, and especially at that young of an age. So I remember I was just crying so hard. And I had heard because after like before this, there was also like Black Lives Matter, and there were so many. I think those also hurt me as well. But I feel like as anybody, um, what really strikes you the most is things that are closer to home. So this attack on Asian Americans in Atlanta, and it was just so scary to me, I think. So yeah, I remember that shooting made me cry so hard.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I completely understand what you're saying about especially when it kind of like hits home, so it it hurts more when you realize that things like this keep happening to all different communities, and it's really annoying in a way. And I think when I kind of first heard about it like when the elderly ones were having, like you said, and I think in like places like California, I think that's the first one I heard about. Excuse me, sorry. So when I heard about that one, I remember I was watching it with my sister and my mom. We all just kind of like, that's so dumb. Like, why is this happening? This doesn't make any sense. And it's like, um, I think our first, I think I didn't really get this. I didn't really realize what like the motive was until after they kind of said it on the news. But like the fact that they were using the like pandemic to justify their hatred towards Asian Americans or to justify that like attacking them was just really stupid to me because I didn't see how you can blame like a whole race just for what's going on right now. So yeah, and that kind of leads into my second prompt. But did you know immediately that it had to do with the current coronavirus pandemic?
I think that was definitely the first thought that popped into my head because of this atmosphere. I haven't had to deal with any hatred towards me, thankfully, because I kind of live in a more sheltered environment, I would say. But I definitely knew that it was due to coronavirus because back when our former President Trump was our president, he really liked to use the terms like kung flu or China virus. So I kind of gauged that those words kind of stirred something in a lot of Americans.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that had to do with a lot of it. More um like open for people to talk about it and talk about like, oh well, this is a China virus, even though it's not, because you can't necessarily say that a global, like, just one country. And then that also reminded me, I was watching this thing on like YouTube where they kind of brought they brought like Trump supporters and Biden supporters to talk about like different things that were going on. So one of the things that they had was coronavirus. And I know one of the women who was a Trump supporter, she said, I mean, we just have to call it what it is, the China virus. And I was like, you're putting like the fact that she's not even ashamed to like go out there and say that when she knows that this video is going to go to like so many people because it's on YouTube. And I just think that he made it to where it's like, okay, anybody can just be like openly racist. And that was really kind of struck a chord because I was like, wow, she actually just said that openly without actually even having any like feeling of maybe I shouldn't say this. And that was just, it's, I think a lot of things have, because of Trump, honestly, people, I guess, more bold to like say things um that are obviously racist and just not right. But, yeah, I think when you brought that up, that is definitely true.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, especially with the China virus. I think a lot of it is the majority of the people who like support him and are sympathizers, they aren't really educated about the meaning. They just think, "Oh, it's from China, therefore it is the China virus," which I wouldn't say is entirely true. And I have one more thing to add. This is kind of off topic, back from, but I remember when I first heard about the shootings, I don't want to compare, but I think I kind of understood how my other minority friends felt, especially like my black friends when they heard about all the like George Floyd's death and Breonna Taylor. I kind of understood how they felt in that moment because you don't understand the feeling until it really hurts your community. It's sad to say, but humans definitely empathize more with people who are like them. Definitely a lot more. I was like, oh, this is how it feels, kind of. So I think it was eye opening for me.
Yeah, and I definitely understand that, and nobody should shame me for that because it does make sense. Like, you're not really gonna completely grasp the understand. Like, of course, I know like you sympathize with them, but you don't fully understand like the feeling until maybe it happens when to people like you or anything like that. So that definitely makes sense though. So
Yeah, I think the important thing is just us as people trying to be empathetic towards other communities, even if we can't fully understand how they're feeling.
yeah. So the next prompt is, what do you have to say to those who blame Asians in general for the pandemic?
Um, I don't know if I really necessarily have anything to say. I feel like it should be obvious. Asians are not the reason you can't go out anymore and have fun, especially in the United States, where I know so many people, like family friends who are Asian, and all the Asian people I know, they've been taking so many precautions, always wearing a mask when they're outside or in stores and in crowded areas. And I can't say the same for a lot of Americans. So I think what I'm trying to say is your fault at this point. Obviously, the presidency, President Trump has definitely a large reason why America still isn't fully recovered from this pandemic. But a lot of this is just people in general who won't take safe steps.
Yeah, and I think I actually like what you just brought up because I never really thought about it completely like that before. But you're so right. If people in America, like, if they really try to take the same cautions as other countries, because you know some countries now like they don't have any cases, and so if they actually like if we like Americans actually try to do that every single day, wearing a mask all the time, like, then and actually social distancing, not holding like parties when there's literally new surges breaking out. And so I think if we did that, then we would be far more advanced than where we are right now. Because where we are right now, I mean, I guess it's getting better with the vaccines, but before the vaccine came out, I think it was really bad. And so, yeah, that's a great point because I mean, you can't necessarily blame Asians for it when like at the moment a lot of Americans aren't trying to take that those precautions. And also when you were saying that, I know like whenever I go into like the store or like a grocery store or something or a clothing store, it's like I don't really understand because I mean I in my opinion like we always have to wear a mask, and I know eventually like we started double masking as well. Not to say that double masking is better, but just adding that in there. And so like I would see so many people not wearing a mask, and I know it made my mom, my sister, and I, like, also, like, kind of upset because 'cause we're like, "Why?" Like, it's not that hard to just kind of put it on. I feel like it's not asking for much, because that would help a lot, and I can't remember exactly who said this, but I saw something, I think it was maybe in July or August, sometime a little bit ago, but it said, like, if every single American was to wear a mask whenever they go their nose and mouth, that's another thing to wear it actually correctly, then the pandemic would, or at least the cases in America would significantly drop. So, yeah, I definitely agree with what you said about that, because no, I think you can't blame somebody else for your own, um, downfalls when you're not trying to properly take care of it.
Yeah, especially with a lot of Americans like not taking full responsibility and trying to wear masks. I think it's also important to recognize that America has such a great divide, and a lot of people have politicized masks. Like, I really
Yep.
hate it when even my friends, they're like, "Oh, I need to go out and wear masks because I don't want to look Republican." But it's like, I really wish we would stop pushing that narrative, because masks shouldn't be political. Like, not wearing masks shouldn't be associated with being conservative or something. We should all just wear masks because they're helpful and what we need right now. So I really wish people, like everyone listening, can stop politicizing masks, because that is really harmful.
Yeah, you're definitely correct. I think when I first heard about, like, when, like, masks started becoming, like, a, political thing, like, if you're a liberal, like, you wear a mask, if you're a Democrat, you wear a mask, if you're conservative or Republican, you're most likely not going to. I think when I first heard that, I was like, how did wearing a mask become a political thing?" Like, I feel like nowadays everything is turned into politics, and especially things as little as wearing a mask, which shouldn't be turned into politics as well. But I do agree with you on that, because I think that adds to it with people not wearing one or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially because in a lot of Asian countries, mask wearing has already been kind of the norm. Like, if you're sick, I remember my sister we went to China back in 2019, and my sister got her nails done, and the nail lady was wearing a mask. Like, it was normal. It is frustrating. And I also wanted to add that whenever I go to Asian supermarkets near Atlanta, sort of, I always see, like, in the store, it's funny, I like to compare. Everyone in the store is wearing a mask, and even the foreigners, like, the people who aren't Asian who go in there, they're wearing a mask, because it's almost like, I don't want to say peer pressure is a factor, but I feel like a lot of times when people see other people wearing masks, it's kind of like a domino effect. And the same thing happens when you go to stores when people aren't wearing masks. I feel like it makes a lot of people inclined to also not wear their masks. But the point I'm trying to make is that whenever I went to like Kroger or Publix, I would always see about half of the people there not wearing masks, but I can't really say the same for a lot of the Asian supermarkets I went to.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That is pretty, it's kind of sad to see that's how it is, but I guess that is just the reality of things at the moment. So, sorry. The next one is, were you happy with social media's response to the dilemma, or did you feel that not enough was being done?
I feel like when we're talking about social media activism, it's always kind of a hard subject, because I do want people to spread awareness, but sometimes I feel like it just all becomes performative. Like, social media activism, everything is really performative. Like, I people who were posting information, but this also happened where a lot of misinformation becomes spread. And it got to the point where a lot of people were just posting like silly, like aesthetics that looks good on their story, like stop hate. But where's the information? You know what I mean? It was just kind of annoying seeing creators making pretty like graphics out of a movement that is important. And I think this happens a lot with different movements.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. I think a lot of times it's people do it for like show, but they're not truly trying to help it in a way, if that makes sense. Like they may actually care, but I think they kind of care more about like, well, let me make sure that other people see that like I stand with them and that I understand what's going on, but not necessarily that like they're actually trying to take steps to help the community. So yeah, I get.
Yeah, I think a lot of the posts went away after a week or two, which I think obviously is a tendency with social media. Like, you can't always post about everything, but I just thought it was funny how everyone just kind of stopped posting about it after 2 weeks. So, to answer your question, I wasn't exactly satisfied with how social media's response or how it affected the movement.
Okay. So the next one is, do you know anyone personally who has experienced hatred due to the current pandemic?
Well, like I said before, I personally haven't experienced anything too hurtful regarding the coronavirus pandemic and Asian hate, but I do know my mom's friend went to Costco in an area that's not very far from where we live. And she went to Costco and some like white person was just told like go back to China or whatever. And I know it's a little thing, but it just kind of struck with me like cuz that area is majority white. And I think I was just kind of I wasn't surprised, but I was still disappointed because I feel like in that area there's always been like there's a growing Asian population in that area, and I think it's it's hurtful, but you realize that a lot of white people and just aren't they're not used to the idea of Asian people coming in or other minorities coming in and living in their kind of safe space. Like I remember my mom also said that she had seen a Facebook post that someone in that area and she had posted that she was like, why is this city filled with so many Asian people now? And it was just really frustrating because I know that a lot of people in that area probably think that way, and it just makes everything feel a little more real.
Yeah, I get that. That definitely does suck though. I think that people need to be like more open-minded and not so quick to like maybe jump to conclusions or to immediately judge somebody. And the fact that she told her to go back to China doesn't make any sense because, I mean, in all honesty, I think I say this a lot, like not on this podcast, but I just say this a lot like, in general. We're all immigrants, and so you can't. I don't think it really makes sense to try to tell somebody where they should or shouldn't be. So yeah,
Yeah,
that,
especially because she wasn't even sure if she was Chinese. Like she
yeah,
was.
that's the thing.
It's just such a big generalization. Like I know a lot of my other Asian friends who aren't Chinese. They always say it's so frustrating when people just assume they're Chinese. It's like it kind of is a reflection on how American education is not the best, and a lot of people just assume Asia is China, and maybe sometimes they remember Japan and Korea.
I agree. That is another thing. I also was kind of thinking that like you don't necessarily you can't just assume that they're from one country when Asia in as a whole has so many different countries. So yeah, that would be pretty ignorant on her part as well. So okay. Anyways, the next prompt is, how can we as a society show more support for the Asian community and what they're going through?
I'm not sure if I'm the best person to answer this, but I feel like it's the same with a lot of other movements, kind of. Just, I remember when one of my friends had actually checked up on me during the spa shooting. They were like, "Hey, Isabel, are you okay?" And I think that was actually really sweet of them. I think just checking in on your fellow Asian friends when something big happens, and also actively discussing um, Asian hate and things like the model minority myth, and trying to change your biases. Like, I know internal biases are very hard to get rid of, but if you're actively trying to correct yourself, I think even if you don't say it out loud, that change as itself is enough.
Yeah, you're definitely correct. So thank you for that. That was actually our last prompt. So this kind of brings us to a close. But do you have anything else that you feel that you need to say or that you need to share?
No, I think I'm good, but thank you so much for having me. This was a great experience.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate that you came on a second time, and I hope that all of my listeners enjoyed this episode, and I hope that this also encourages you to educate yourself more about different topics and different communities that are going through rough times. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on this, and I hope to talk to you again in the future. So bye.
Bye.